Ladies and gentlemen, fear is one of the oldest weapons the enemy has used against mankind. From the beginning of time, fear has whispered lies into the hearts of men and women, telling them they are not enough, that they will fail, that they are weak and powerless, that their dreams are too big, and that their past is too broken. But I tell you tonight, fear is a liar, and unless we rise up and confront it, unless we force ourselves to push through it, we will remain shackled in invisible chains. There comes a moment in every life when the heart begins to tremble, not because of danger, but because of doubt. That moment when the road ahead is uncertain and the mountain seems too high to climb. And in that moment we are tempted to turn back, to settle for less, to stay in the safety of the shadows. But my friends, you were not created to live in fear. You were not fashioned by the hand of God to dwell in caves of comfort. You were made to stand in the light, to walk through the storm, to press onward even when your knees are trembling. The voice of fear is persistent. It will tell you to wait until you feel ready, but let me tell you something, you will never feel ready. The courage you seek is not found in feelings, it is found in action. It is when you take that first step, while your heart is pounding and your hands are shaking, that strength begins to rise within you. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision that something else is more important than fear. Look around at the lives that have changed the world. Not one of them was born without fear. The greatest leaders, the most powerful visionaries, the most faithful servants, they all felt the same chill of fear that you and I do. But they did not bow to it. They pressed forward, they stood firm, and they walked through the fire. You see, there is something about walking through the fire that burns away everything that is not true. When you step into fear, you find out what you're really made of, and more importantly, you find out who is walking with you. We often forget that fear thrives in isolation. It grows in the darkness of secrecy and silence. But when you bring your fear into the light, when you name it, when you speak it out, it begins to lose its power, and the moment you move forward in spite of it, it begins to die. There is something mighty that happens when a man or a woman chooses to act in faith instead of cowering in fear. It is in that moment that heaven leans in. It is in that moment that you become dangerous to the darkness. Now you may be thinking, but what if I fail? And I say, what if you do? Failure is not the end. Failure is the classroom of the brave. Every failure you endure in faith becomes a stone on the path to victory. It's not those who never fall that change the world. It's those who fall and get back up, again and again, because they refuse to be defined by fear. You see, fear cannot withstand persistence. It cannot survive in the heart of someone who refuses to quit. Fear may roar like a lion, but it has no teeth if you do not give it permission to bite. The truth is, most of the fear we face is smoke and mirrors. It looks like a wall, but the moment you press against it, you discover it was only a shadow. But if you never press, you will never know. Too many people die with their dreams still inside them. Too many people reach the end of their days and realize they never truly lived, all because fear held the reins. But you don't have to be one of them. You don't have to settle for a life of what-ifs and if-onlys. You can choose right now to push through, to rise up, to say, I may be afraid, but I'm going anyway. That is where the miracle happens. Don't wait for your fear to disappear before you move. Move asterisk through asterisk your fear, and watch how it begins to crumble. Walk forward not because you are fearless, but because you are determined, because you know your life has purpose, because you believe there is more waiting on the other side of your fear than there ever was in the comfort of your excuses. You were not born to be a slave to fear. You were born to be free, and that freedom does not come by waiting. It comes by fighting. It comes by choosing every day to confront what scares you and say, you will not win. You must force yourself, yes, force yourself, to rise, to stand, to move. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because you know the truth. Fear may knock on your door, but it doesn't get to decide if you answer, you do. And when you begin to push through fear, even just a little, something happens deep within you. A fire begins to stir, a quiet flame at first, barely noticeable, but it grows. With each act of courage, with each moment of defiance against the voice of fear, the fire grows stronger. It becomes a force, a power that cannot be bought or borrowed. It becomes conviction, and conviction will carry you farther than talent, farther than comfort, farther than applause. Conviction gives you the strength to do what is right even when it costs you. It helps you stand when others sit, speak when others are silent, believe when others give up. There will be times when fear doesn't just whisper its screams. It will scream through failure, through rejection, through disappointment. It will use your past to haunt you and your future to frighten you. It will tell you that you're not worthy of love, not strong enough for the road ahead, not smart enough, not talented enough, not enough. But those are lies. They are straight from the pit of defeat, designed to steal your destiny. Because fear knows that if you ever stop listening to it, if you ever rise up in faith, it loses its grip. It knows that your potential is far greater than your past, and if you ever realize that, you become unstoppable. It's not courage that makes fear disappear. It's obedience. Obedience to that quiet voice inside you that says, keep going. Obedience to the vision planted in your heart even when the road is dark. Fear will always stand at the gate, but it cannot hold you back unless you let it. Your obedience to the call on your life is more powerful than any threat of failure. You are not meant to tiptoe through life avoiding fear. You are meant to face it head, on with a heart full of fire and a soul anchored in purpose. Many people are waiting for the right moment, the perfect timing, the ideal conditions. But let me tell you, there is no perfect moment to conquer fear. Fear doesn't vanish with time, it grows when you wait. The longer you pause, the louder it becomes. You must act while your legs are still trembling. You must speak while your voice still shakes. You must stand when it's easier to run, because growth doesn't come in the still waters. Growth happens in the storm, in the wind, in the waves that rise higher than your comfort. You will not grow if you always stay where it's safe. There are dreams inside you right now that are waiting to be born. There are people who will be touched by your courage. There are mountains only you are meant to climb. But none of that happens if you listen to fear. Fear will always build fences, but courage tears them down. Fear says stay, courage says go. Fear says you can't, courage says try. Fear says it's too late, courage says it's just the beginning. Sometimes the hardest battles we fight are not against the world, but against the voice inside our own mind. The voice that questions, doubts, criticizes. But the truth is, that voice is not your friend. It's not looking out for you. It's not protecting you. It's keeping you from everything you were meant to become. And you don't fight that voice with anger or pride. You fight it with truth, with faith. With resolve, you remind yourself day after day that you were not given a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, love, and discipline. You were given a purpose, and no fear has the authority to take that from you unless you surrender it. Don't let fear write your story. Don't let it decide where you go, who you become, what you attempt, or how much you risk. Life is too short to be ruled by what might go wrong. You must begin to ask a different question. Not what if I fail, but what if I succeed? What if you take the step and doors begin to open? What if you speak the truth and it sets someone free? What if you rise and others follow? What if everything you've been afraid of was never real to begin with? You will never know unless you try. You will never see the view from the mountaintop if you stay rooted in the valley of hesitation. You were made for more than that. There is a strength in you that you haven't yet tapped into. There is a warrior inside you that hasn't yet taken the field, and you will never meet that part of yourself until you face fear and walk through it. That's where the real version of you is hiding, not in safety, not in ease, but in the middle of the fight. So start now, start afraid, start unsure, but start. Don't wait for fear to pass. Move in spite of it. Let your steps become louder than your doubts. Let your faith be bolder than your worry. You are capable of more than you've believed. The fear that has tried to silence you, to stall you, to stop you. It is not your master. It does not get the final word, not if you choose to fight, not if you choose to rise, and even when fear tries to come back tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, you will be stronger. Because you'll know it can be faced. you'll know it can be overcome, and you'll know that the most powerful thing in this world is not fear, but a soul set on fire with purpose and unwavering resolve. That kind of soul does not retreat, that kind of soul does not quit, that kind of soul keeps pressing forward no matter what, because every step you take forward, whether it's shaky or strong, drives a wedge into the wall of fear. It chips away at the illusion that you cannot change, that you cannot overcome, that you are bound to live in the same place forever. You must understand that fear thrives on repetition. The more you obey it, the more it repeats its message. But when you resist it, when you push through just once, you begin a new pattern. You teach your heart something new, that fear does not have the final say, and the more you repeat that asterisk, the stronger you become. What once felt like an impossible barrier starts to look like a challenge you're ready to face, not because the fear is gone, but because you've grown stronger than it. People spend their entire lives preparing for things that never happen, worrying about shadows that never take form. Fear convinces them to play it safe, to not speak out, to not try again, to avoid any risk of rejection or loss. But what they don't realize is that the greater loss is what they are sacrificing in the process, the life they were meant to live. And while they wait for the right moment, the years pass, and when they look back, they don't regret the times they failed. They regret the times they never tried, the days they stayed silent, the opportunities they let slip through their hands because fear said no louder than purpose said yes. You will never regret walking in boldness. You will never regret choosing to try, even if it means you fall short, because every time you step into the unknown, you discover something new about who you are. You uncover hidden reserves of strength. You tap into a well of courage you didn't know existed. And most importantly, you begin to see yourself not as fear wants you to see, but as you truly are capable, worthy, chosen, empowered. Fear wants you to shrink. It wants you to dim your light to second, guess your voice, to believe the lie that you're not ready, but you don't have to listen. You have been given the power to override that voice. You have been given the ability to decide who gets the microphone in your mind, and when you begin to speak truth over your life, when you declare that you can when you affirm that you will you strip fear of its disguise. You take back control. It's not about waiting for confidence to show up. Confidence is a result of action, not the cause. You build it like a muscle. You stretch it through repetition, through risk, through doing the hard things again and again until they no longer scare you the same way. The first time you speak up, your voice may shake. The first time you lead, you may doubt every decision. The first time you dream big, you may be overwhelmed, but keep going. What once was terrifying becomes familiar. What once seemed impossible becomes routine. That's the power of persistence. That's the power of walking through fear instead of around it. There's a cost to everything. There's a cost to courage, yes, but there's also a cost to cowardice. There's a cost to living boldly, but a much greater one to playing small. Don't buy the lie that safety is worth the price of your soul. There is a world out there that needs your gifts. There are people who need your voice, your passion, your ideas, your compassion. And if fear keeps you silent, they may never receive what only you can give. That's how important your choice is. It's not just about it's about everyone your life will touch. And let me remind you, fear may feel strong, but it cannot touch your soul. It can influence your thoughts, shake your nerves, and cause you to hesitate, but it cannot reach the deepest part of you unless you invite it in. You are not a prisoner to fear. You are not chained unless you choose to stay bound. And if you have chosen fear in the past, it's not too late to choose differently now. Every single moment is a chance to start over. Every breath you take is a chance to say, I will not live this way anymore. You don't need permission to be bold. You don't need anyone to approve of your courage. It is yours to claim, right here, right now. People often look at bold individuals and think they were born that way. They think some people are just naturally fearless. But nothing could be further from the truth. Those who live boldly are the ones who made a decision to stop waiting, to stop hiding, to stop making excuses. They decided they would rather live with scars from battle than regrets from silence. They would rather fail in the light than survive in the dark, and you can make that same decision today. You can choose to rise, you can choose to move, you can choose to confront the fear and say, "You may have stopped me yesterday, but not today." You are not defined by your hesitation. You are defined by what you do after it. Everyone hesitates at some point. Everyone feels the weight of fear pressing on their shoulders, but the ones who change their lives, the ones who leave a mark are those who refuse to stop there. They acknowledge the fear, but they don't bow to it. They walk forward anyway, and that, my friend, is the only difference. It's not about feeling fearless. It's about being obedient to the vision planted in your soul. It's about being faithful to the life you were created to live, even if fear tries to talk you out of it every step of the way. Every fear you face builds a legacy, not just for you, but for those who follow. There are people watching you right now, whether you know it or not. Children, friends, coworkers, neighbors, they're watching to see how you respond. Will you let fear speak for you, or will you show them what courage looks like in real time? Your life is not just about you. It's a torch, and how brightly it burns depends on how often you refuse to let fear snuff it out. You have a fire within you. Maybe it's only a flicker right now. Maybe life has tried to drown it. Maybe you've believed the lie that your moment has passed, but if that fire is still burning, even faintly, it can grow, it can become a blaze. All it takes is a choice, a single decision to take the next step, no matter how uncertain, no matter how uncomfortable. That's all, one act of faith, one step through fear, and from there the momentum builds. Don't be surprised if fear gets louder when you begin to move. That's how you know you're heading in the right direction. Fear screams the loudest right before the breakthrough. It's not a sign to stop, it's a sign to press in, to keep going, to hold your ground, and the more you do, the more you learn that fear has no real authority unless you grant it. You realize you've been giving it power with your silence, with your delay, with your excuses. But no more. The time for silence is over. The time for standing still has passed. Now is the time for action. For boldness, for choosing purpose over comfort, truth over fear, fire over shadows, there is a boldness in you that fear has been trying to bury, a strength that can't be bought and won't be broken. It's time to uncover it, to rise from hesitation and step into your true identity. You are not meant to survive. You are meant to thrive. You are not meant to blend in. You are meant to shine. And that will never happen if fear is sitting in the driver's seat. So take back the wheel, set your eyes on the horizon, and move. You may fall, you may stumble, you may face setbacks, but none of those are fatal, none of those are permanent, and none of them are worth surrendering your calling to fear. What matters is that you keep standing, keep rising, keep showing up, again and again, because every time you do, fear gets weaker, and you get stronger, and before long, the very things that once intimidated you will become the things that drive you. The very places that once paralyzed you will become the places you proclaim from. That is the power of a life lived through the fire, not around it. There is a world waiting for you on the other side of fear. A world where your voice echoes with purpose, where your actions ripple with impact, where your life becomes a testimony of what it means to walk by faith, not by fear. That world will not come to you. You must go to it. You must move even while you're afraid. You must believe that fear is not a sign to stop, but a signal to begin. And when you do, when you take that step, trembling but true, you will find that the road is not empty. You are not alone, others are walking too, and the path that once looked impossible becomes the path you were always meant to walk. You must understand that fear is not the enemy, it is a signpost. It points to the places where growth is needed, where courage must rise, where faith must deepen. It marks the boundary between who you have been and who you are becoming. When fear knocks, it's an invitation, a challenge to prove that your spirit is stronger than your doubts. It is a summons to step beyond the comfortable and familiar into the vast unknown of your potential. This unknown can be intimidating, yes, but it is also where miracles begin. The road of faith and courage is never easy. It's filled with twists and turns, setbacks and surprises, but it is the only road that leads to a life truly lived. And you are called to walk it, not perfectly, but persistently, not without fear, but with faith. Every great story of triumph, every testimony of transformation, is a story of someone who pushed through fear one step at a time. They didn't wait for fear to vanish. They learned to move in spite of it. And you can do the same. You might feel the weight of your doubts pressing heavily on your chest. You might hear the voice inside your head telling you to wait, to be cautious, to protect yourself from disappointment. But those voices do not speak the truth. The truth is that your dreams are worth the risk. Your purpose is worth the struggle. Your life is meant for more than fear's limitations. You were created to live boldly, to take risks, to shine brightly. Sometimes you may feel small in the face of the mountain ahead. The task might seem overwhelming. The fear might seem all-consuming. But remember this: the size of the mountain does not matter nearly as much as the size of the step you take toward it. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, as the old saying goes, and that first step is always the hardest. But once you take it, the next step is a little easier, and the next one after that becomes a little more natural. Momentum builds, courage becomes habit. You are not alone in this battle. There is strength in community, in shared struggle, in leaning on one another when the fear threatens to overwhelm. Do not isolate yourself in your fear. Speak to someone you trust. Share your burden. Sometimes the simple act of voicing your fears can begin to diminish their power. And when you walk together with others, encouragement flows and courage multiplies. Faith is the antidote to fear. Faith is not wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is trust in something greater than yourself. It is the belief that no matter how dark the night, the dawn will come. It is the assurance that you are not alone, that there is a power far beyond your fears working for your good. Faith gives you a solid foundation to stand on when the winds of doubt howl around you. It gives you a reason to keep moving even when the path is unclear. Every day presents a new opportunity to choose courage over fear, to decide that your life will not be dictated by what frightens you, but by what inspires you. Courage is not a destination, it is a daily practice. It is getting up every morning and deciding to face the day, no matter what fears you carry. It is speaking out, stepping forward, reaching higher. It is saying yes to your calling, even when the voice of fear tries to drown it out. And do not mistake silence for peace. Sometimes fear disguises itself as calm, lulling you into a false sense of security. But true peace comes from facing your fears and knowing that you have done your best despite them. Peace comes from obedience to your purpose, not from avoidance of risk. When you choose to act in spite of fear, you discover a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace rooted in the knowledge that you have not let fear rule your life. You were made for greatness, not a greatness defined by the world's standards of fame or fortune, but a greatness that comes from living authentically, with courage, integrity, and faith. That greatness begins with the choice to refuse fear's demands. It begins with the decision to push through discomfort, to lean into uncertainty, to trust the process even when you cannot see the outcome. When fear threatens to stop you, remind yourself of all the times you have faced uncertainty before and survived. Remember the challenges you thought you couldn't overcome, but did. Remember the moments when fear was loudest and you chose to act anyway. Those are your victories. They are proof that you are stronger than you realize. Don't let the fear of what might happen keep you from what could happen. Fear lives in the future, in the what-ifs that have not yet come to pass. But life happens in the present, and the present is where your power lies. Choose today to take a step forward. Choose today to say yes to your dreams. Choose today to push through fear and walk boldly into the future you were created for. As you continue on this journey, remember that pushing through fear is not about never falling. It is about getting up every time you fall. It's about perseverance, resilience, and faithfulness. The path is not easy, but it is worth it. Because on the other side of fear lies the life you were meant to live, the life of purpose, joy, and fulfillment. So stand tall, take a deep breath, look fear in the eye and say, you will not have the last word. Force yourself to push through the fear, for in that pushing you will find freedom. In that freedom, you will discover your true strength, and in that strength, you will become the person you were always meant to be. When you decide to push through fear, you begin to rewrite the story of your life. Fear wants to keep you trapped in a cage of what-ifs and maybe-nots. But courage breaks those chains. It opens the door to new possibilities, new relationships, new experiences. It allows you to step into the fullness of who you are, not just who fear says you should be. There will be moments when doubt creeps back in, when fear tries to steal the progress you've made. Those moments are natural, but they are not the end of your story. They are simply reminders that this journey requires continual courage. Each time you choose to move forward despite the fear, you build a stronger foundation beneath your feet. You become less defined by your worries and more defined by your faith. You are not alone on this path. Every person who has ever achieved anything worthwhile has faced fear and pushed through it. They understood that fear is not the absence of courage, but the call to it. So take heart. Whatever you are facing, whatever you are afraid of, know that you have within you the strength to overcome. The power to push through, the faith to stand firm. So move forward today. Take that step. Say that word, make that call. Push through fear with everything you've got, because the life waiting for you on the other side is worth every moment of courage it takes to get there. Your destiny is calling, and fear will never silence the voice of purpose within you. In the end, the choice is yours, to let fear dictate your life or to rise above it with courage and faith. Remember, fear is not a sign to stop, but a call to step forward, to grow, and to become the person you were meant to be. When you force yourself to push through fear, you discover a strength and freedom that transforms not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. Embrace the challenge, trust the journey, and know that beyond fear lies the fullness of your purpose and the fulfillment of your greatest potential.